And I say, man, most people don't know what they're talking about. Like, people are literally, like, common sense isn't common anymore. You have to walk by the Spirit. You have to.
And we begin in China, where late today, evidence of a forced late-term abortion started to spark international condemnation and outrage. The abortion was forced on a woman whose family could not pay the $6,300 fine. That's the fine that you pay if you're going to violate China's one-child policy. She was 7 months pregnant.
A corporate entity, Michael Wayne Parsons. I am not that person. I'm not the fiduciary, surety, or trustee for that corporate entity or trust.
All right.
I am a live man. I do not do TB shots, or I do not do any unknown foreign substances into my body, and they're trying to force a TB test upon me is in violation of United States Code and Supreme Court rulings that say that if I'm not symptomatic, they can't force me against my will. I've never done a TB test. I don't consent to those now. It is against my rights as a human being given to me by my Creator. I do not consent to this offer. I do not accept your offer.
It's not an offer. It's an order.
I do not. An order is an offer. I do not consent to these proceedings. I am the beneficiary, the living soul. I am not.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem.
The same idols that were in Moses' time and before are still being worshipped out here today. Look around you, man. These people have mixed godly principles with the world. They're gonna tell you it's cool to be lukewarm. They're gonna tell you same-sex marriage is cool as long as you happy. They're gonna tell you that it's cool to do things of the world because God know your heart. That's a lie. We are not supposed to bow down and conform to the ways of this world. We are supposed to come out from among the heathens of this world and spiritually, above all, be a light to a world that is headed to destruction. We got pastors out here compromising and watering down the word to please the sleep and power-hungry congregation members and, of course, the state. We got this so-called conscious community selling you so-called textbook wisdom that don't amount to anything because none of it is soul-saving. We got these modern-day racist so-called Israelite bullhorners on the corner talking about the white man. But the so-called white man is the one that put them out there on the corners. I put out a video warning people to prep themselves because the Trump wall is to keep us in, and I got mocked and ridiculed for it. But let me start talking about some nonsense Hollywood gossip, and everybody comes running. Running so fast you can see smoke on their shoes. What kind of world do we live in, man? People out here talking about Jussie Smollett, R. Kelly, fake old Nipsey stories, but they shy away from talking about the real issues like 600,000 kids missing in the U.S. every year. How child sex trafficking is a billion-dollar operation that could be stopped at any moment if this cheap old government cared. Let's talk about NSA spying on everybody. You can't even go through the bathroom without them knowing it and hearing it. No privacy at all. Let's talk about how there is a difference in education based on your wealth. Let's talk about the people in nursing homes being abused. Let's talk about how they burning down all the trees of the land and buying up and building up buildings in the land like it's a monopoly around here. Let's talk about how they are rewriting your constitution right in your face. Let's talk about that superhighway they building, the underground military bases they building, how all the presidents are related. Let's talk about how your votes never count. Let's talk about how the Zionists are still pulling the strings behind the scenes, the men behind the curtain. Let's talk about these fake industry gangsters working for the CIA. Let's talk about doctors keeping the afterbirth of women to produce clones with it. Or how we can rarely talk about God on YouTube or other platforms anymore without it being claimed or labeled as controversial. Let's talk about a cashless society. Let's talk about that mark of the beast. Let's talk about how the forefathers of the faith in the word really stayed strong and committed their faith to God. No, y'all don't want to talk about all the real stuff. You want to walk around in this invisible